Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us in part two of our three-part summer learning series titled Tuesday Talk. Today we have members of Edgewood Brooklyn Family Support Collaborative's school-based team here to talk about our current summertime activities, the previous school year, and the impact COVID had on students and parents, families and educators, and also to talk about upcoming school updates and to make sure everyone knows what DC Public School System and perhaps the public charter school system are doing this coming school year. I'm going to turn it over to the team to introduce themselves, and I'll start with the program director, Christine Dupree.
Thank you, Scott. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christine Dupree, and I'm a program director with the Edgewood Brooklyn Family Support Collaborative. I oversee our school-based initiatives, which consists of our truancy intervention program and full service community school program.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tamiko Thomas. I'm the program manager for the truancy program, better known as SUSO, short stand up.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jennifer Ford, the Community School Coordinator at Brown Education Campus.
And hi, everybody. I am Monica Woodson, the Community School Coordinator located at Minor Elementary.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I'm gonna make this a general question. Whoever wants to answer, please feel free. Definitely the impact COVID has had on the education system nationwide, but especially, I'll say especially DC, since we're all DC oriented, has been tumultuous to say the least. So can anyone share or would like to share what this past school year has been like, both for you as a professional and also share some of the experiences the parents and students went through navigating COVID, navigating virtual learning, returning to school. Just kind of summarize what this past school year was like.
I was just going to start off by sharing a few comments concerning the startup of the school year. I think that as the schools were reopening in August and students were still at home learning, I think for the schools, it was a shift in struggling to try and support students that were still struggling with having access to technology at home, trying to assess what the barriers were for students logging in and being present for in-class instruction, and also being able to track student attendance online. And I think for the families at home, when the school year first started in August, it was similar for them in being able to have technology in the home, being able to set a structured schedule for their students in the home, and also being able to have contact with their teachers or contact with school administrators so that there could be some troubleshooting around what the barriers are. So I think that when the school year initially started in August, September, October, I think both our schools and our families were struggling to be able to fully engage in virtual learning and to have it be as productive as it could be, despite the circumstances.
Okay, thank you. And what did
And
you
can I,
as a,
oh,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Monica.
can I add that I think in my school, multiple households was an issue because some of the students were going back and forth between mom, dad, grandma, and they was losing books or misplacing technology and school supplies. So a lot of students had to either redo work or complete assignments or and try to catch up, which impacted their grade as well. And also the parent, it was hard. The parent had to actually become the teacher. So we have families who struggled in school, and now you have to full time be a parent, check homework, keep kids up to par on schedules. You have to make sure that, like Christine was talking about, that their attendance is where it's supposed to be. Like it was a struggle for some of the parents at my school.
And just to build on that, Monica, I think in general it was a struggle because we had parents that were sometimes not as tech savvy as we would need them to be in the virtual environment, struggling through that piece. And also the messaging from the school was kind of a bridge that they built as they were crossing it. So having to log in layers, like the Canvas versus the direct classroom, that wasn't entirely clear, even to me as being the tech person. So I know it wasn't clear as the parent to the parents. And that continued to be a struggle all the way throughout the school year. And the tech problems and some folks not having all the appropriate technology or having the laptop but not internet access, I think those problems were probably a little more defined and maybe more prevalent than the school system even anticipated. So it was hard for everybody involved. I agree.
I would agree with what everyone is saying. Also, for us to just do the work that became challenging as well. I know at Brown, we didn't really lose any of our partners or programming, but actually being able to utilize them became a problem. One being our after school program, we had 0 participants. So we also found out that teachers were doing tutoring on Wednesdays when students were supposed to be doing, learning independently. So trying to identify ways how we can use those programs like our after school program who offers tutoring, how we can get them to do tutoring on Wednesdays versus after school. So really having to think of unique ways to really use our programming was something else that became a challenge, but it worked out.
And not to forget to mention that they had this new thing of being camera ready. Like because you're in the comfort of your home, which is actually a gift and a curse, because now you have students who are able to kind of just go into the refrigerator and eat and make sure that you're not eating on camera. So you have to make sure that you are dressed appropriately to show up for school. So you had these things that you have to kind of be mindful of now, being camera ready.
Okay. And I want to let all of our viewers know that if you have any questions or comments you would like to add to the discussion, please post them on the main page and we will get them, and I will ask your questions to the team. Thank you everyone for those answers. My next question is to Jennifer. Jennifer, given everything that was just said about the challenges that parents and students and staff faced this past school year, what creative ways did you come up with to address any of these concerns? Those are the students, those are the parents, school administration. What did you do?
So thinking back on when the pandemic initially started, one of my main focuses was just to try to identify those families that were in need who will really be losing out from their students not being in school, whether that be not receiving lunch or breakfast. So we started with just trying to identify through the teachers those families that were the neediest and making sure that we provided some type of assistance to them. But also Brown, they were doing a food distribution. So trying to make sure that we incorporate whatever we can into the food distribution. Diapers being one thing that we continue to do monthly as a part of the food distribution. Other things we've done cleaning supplies, hygiene products, toilet paper, paper towels. So really just trying to identify things that are our needs. And making sure that we provide those things at times when the school is already doing any type of programming or outreach to those families. Another thing that I would say that we have done, Thanksgiving is something that has been really big at Brown. So making sure that we add to the Thanksgiving distribution, and also they have a Winter Wonderland where they give out different toys to students. So just really trying to incorporate whatever we are doing to whatever the school has already planned.
Okay, thank you. Christine, what type of support were your partner schools requesting of Edgewood Brooklyn?
Most often, the types of supports were around concrete needs. They were requesting support for families who came to their attention, whether it be food. We ended up incorporating being in this virtual arena, using Instacart quite often, where we would place orders online through Instacart and we would have the groceries delivered to the home. Both Monica and Jennifer have received those referrals, and we were able to gather from the family what it was that they needed most in terms of food. And those were the items that we were able to order through Instacart. Um, Additionally, the schools were also seeking support to encourage their students to continue to remain engaged in learning. So they would request support around incentives, gift cards, giveaways, different ways in which they could be creative to try and recognize students and reward students who were engaging in online learning. When students returned to in-person learning in February, and it was only at 25% at that time, when students, the cap of the number of students that could return, our schools were looking for us to support on-site incentives. And so members of the school-based team, particularly under Tomiko's supervision, the Show Up Standout team members, they were at the schools doing pizza parties, ice cream giveaways, just recognizing students who were coming in the building. There were some other students who were able to return to in-person learning, but they needed help with purchasing uniforms. They hadn't been in the school for over a year, had outgrown uniforms, and the families needed help with being able to provide uniforms for their students to return to school. So I would say that it ranged between offering on-site support to students that were in the building versus individualized supports to families. And also having conversations with our school principals around whether or not there are any program partners that might be able to help provide any form of online programming. As Jennifer mentioned earlier, it was challenging. Students were not necessarily engaging right away in online programs, but particularly now as they're in the summer months and the summer acceleration program, and everyone is starting to transition back to somewhat of some normalcy, those conversations are continuing to take place.
Thank you. And my next question, to kind of wrap up this previous school year before we talk about summertime activities, to Tomiko and Monica, any outstanding success stories or really feel good moments that you had helping out a family member, a staff person, the school janitor, a parent, anybody, any special memories you have from doing your work this past school year?
I can start. I think when I first took the job, we had some families that were in immediate crisis. We had a domestic violence case where a family was really out of all resources, uniforms, food, and all that. And the staff member that I was working with kind of had the case on an emergency basis and worked that through. And that was just really rewarding to see someone get the resources they needed and kind of move to the next level of their healing with our help. That was really good when I first took the job. And I would say that the last month or so, we had a really good outreach event at Brown where, we had gave away bikes to folks who had perfect attendance through the attendance team at the school. But just being at the school and seeing the kids in real time, because I've only just seen a little bit of what goes on virtually. So being able to talk to the teachers and the attendance team directly and see some of the kids, that was also very rewarding.
And at minor, we found that some of the upper grades, third, fourth, and fifth graders were struggling around attendance. So we did partner with Arena Stage and they created a short film. And we found that some of the older students were very interested in filmmaking and behind the scene projects. And we was able to increase their attendance slowly through that partnership.
Good, good, excellent work, excellent work. Next question is to Christine or to Tomiko. What is going on this summer? What is Edgewood Brooklyn doing to support DC students this summer?
Christine, you want me to start and then I'll pass the mic?
Sure.
Okay, so we have a lot of good things that are going on in the summer through Edgewood Brooklyn, SUSO, and just everybody involved. I've reached out to some of our partners to get some advice on how to get the summer started. Talked to Jennifer a little bit about this, but we have a two-pronged approach. We have the DC Explorers program that is set up for our middle schoolers, which is a paid incentive program where they do different projects throughout the weeks of the camp. And if they complete the projects, then they are able to earn a stipend. So whether it becomes them becoming a food critic and having some food throughout the city and comment on that, or art throughout the city or monuments, they can learn about those things independently and report out. But in general, we have in-person days and for everyone. This is middle schools and elementary school population. We have in-person days at RFK, so it's a hybrid program. We have Zoom and in-person yoga sessions, and we also have Zoom virtual crafts and learning sessions that are offered for my staff members. So all of those things combined with the hybrid model, people can either enjoy the program virtually if they don't feel comfortable coming out, but if they do, they can come to RFK and do some things and get some physical activity outdoors.
And I just wanted to also share with everyone that we do have partners that are supporting our camp program along with our staff. We'd like to mention Teens Run DC and Million Mats DC. Those are our two partners that are also a part of the camp program. As Tomiko said, they are offering their program virtually as well as in person. Our in-person days are Tuesdays and Fridays, and our virtual days are Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Additionally, we recruited our students from our partner schools. So under the Show Up, Stand Out program, as well as Full Service Community School, we had started to advertise and promote our program, I would say probably in May or June. And we were able to issue flyers. We were able to post on school websites. Tomiko mentioned some of the on-site school activities that we were doing. During that time, we were actively promoting the camp. We had applications on site. We were issuing applications to student and parents at all of our end of year school activities. So across our 6 partner schools, those were the students that we were actively recruiting and that now are part of our summer camp program.
And so if I understand correctly, the summer camp activities are a hybrid of virtual and in person.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and how are the students enjoying the hybrid, and how are you as a staff enjoying the hybrid?
I would say that the students that attend are having a lot of fun. We have a core group of students that we certainly hope to grow. Just as during the school year, it's always a challenge to get people to be online and to come out, but that's a process that continues to grow with us, and we'll continue to work on it. In terms of the staff, I think it's been fun. Fortunately for me, I got some good advice going in with the school-based programs like the activity at Brown, and also because they had some activities last year virtually, some of the precedents for the activities we have had already been set last year. So it's been a smooth transition in some ways to get the hybrid program going where it's both virtual and in person. But because we had some experience with the Zoom part of it or the virtual part, it's been good. And I hope next year will just be all in person and we can have even more fun in that way.
Excellent, excellent. We have a question in the chat, and I believe this topic, was raised by Monica earlier in the discussion. Question is, how were the children able to get what they needed educationally if the parents were computer illiterate or were struggling themselves with school? And this was a question from Penny.
Okay.
And that's open to anybody to answer. Monica?
Yes. So just as Christine mentioned, we was able to do Instacart orders. if we know that there was a need for students who needed supplies through the teacher, or even if the family wanted to reach out to any one of us directly. And or we have a partnership with Learn to Be, where we send students who are struggling academically that needed more or additional help. And it's a virtual online academic help program where they get you to the next step in reading, math, and science. So it's all online and it's called Learn to Be.
Just
I
to
would
build on
also,
that. Well, I'm sorry.
sorry, Tamiko. I would just say also, as far as the technology, the schools, they did provide someone from the IT department to be there 5 days a week. So parents or students needed to actually go up to the school in person for support, they can do that. And I believe more so towards the beginning of the school year, they would do like community meetings, and that was a part of the meetings. They would also do tutorials for those who were in need.
And just to add a little bit to that, part of the role that my staff has is to be advocates for the students and the families. So if they didn't have technology or they were kind of falling behind and we were aware of it, uh, passing that information along back to the attendance team during the attendance meetings was a part of our responsibility. So when they were identified, we tried to help in that way.
All right, thank you, everyone. So we recapped this past school year. You get an update on summer. What do parents have to look forward to in the fall? What is going on with DCPS this fall?
Well, what we do know is that DCPS will be fully reopened. And so the expectation is that students will return for in-person learning. DCPS has announced that they will be offering virtual instruction for students that have medical needs. There is a eligibility requirement attached to that. And so if a parent does feel that their student might qualify and they are seeking to have their student continue to be at home under virtual learning due to a medical need or perhaps an underlying health condition, they should contact their school and ask that question regarding the medical eligibility to allow their student to continue to remain at home. However, as I mentioned, DCPS is going to be fully reopened in August, in the fall. They will not be doing temperature checks from what I understand, so they have modified their screening. They will be still asking some questions, and they're terming it a ask, look screening process. They are going to be continuing to keep in with the standards around cleanliness and having students continue to remain seated at a distance. I believe that for the younger children in pre-K and maybe kindergarten, they will continue to remain in their classroom and have lunch in their classroom, whereas the other students in upper grade levels will be able to mix and be in the cafeteria. So as it stands, with those updates, they are all listed on the DCPS Open Strong website. So for anyone who would like to learn more and gather more information about what the reopening plan for DCPS is, you can go to dcpsopenstrong.com.
And I want to mention that enrollment is open for the upcoming school year. So if you haven't had a chance to enroll your child in the school, your neighborhood school, please do so now. And aftercare is now open for DCPS students. You have to go online, dcps.dc.gov, to enroll your child in aftercare. And also, summer learning opportunities has started. It started July 6th through August 6th. So please, like Christine said, please see your school for more information.
Okay, thank you. And once again, another reminder, if anyone has any questions, you can please put them in the main page and we will add it to our chat and ask our
Scott.
panelists before we wrap up. Yes.
Scott, sorry, I just one other thought came to mind too. Another thing too that I know a lot of schools, and of course the mayor has also announced as well, there is a strong push to ensure that children are up to date with their immunizations. They are not requiring the COVID vaccine. However, all of the existing immunization requirements are what schools are expecting students to adhere to. And so if there are students who need to see their medical health provider, who need to have their immunizations up to date, there is going to be a strong push to ensure that students return with an updated immunization card as well. I believe that they may give students a window or a grace period of 2 weeks to update their immunization record if they don't have any immunizations that are up to date. But I believe after the 2-week grace period, the student may not be able to return back to school. But again, just did want to also mention that requirement around immunizations. And there is, again, a strong push to ensure that students do come back with their immunizations up to date and current.
Have any of you encountered any parents or students who are hesitant about the 100% return to school?
Personally, I have not. When the first time I went up to Brown after students returned this school year, I was actually surprised to see the number of students that had returned. Several students actually returned to school. So me, like I said, personally, I haven't seen a barrier. Students and parents both seem like they're ready for to be back inside the building.
And I agree with Jennifer. Some of the parents that I have been talking to said that they kind of feel more comfortable with some of these guidelines that's still in place, like wearing the mask. And so a parent asked if they can just go in the morning to wipe off their child's seat for them because they didn't know how thorough the cleaning is. So, but like Jennifer said, the responses that I'm getting has been they're looking forward to the upcoming school year being in person.
Okay. And one of my final questions as we wrap up, how do you see your roles continuing this coming school year? Do you see it being similar to this past school year? Do you see additional demands being made on you? Where do you see yourself professionally in your role this coming school year?
So, Scott, I think like professionally, we're definitely gearing up for a hybrid model similar to camp, where we're gonna basically prepare to be in person where it calls for that, but also have some support services virtual for those parents who still are not open to like getting home visits or all that kind of thing. So, like a dual approach to make sure we're covering all our bases based on what the family and the schools need in terms of our interaction. So that's why I think we're headed moving forward.
So before COVID, with me at my school, it was very relaxed. I was kind of able to just walk into the principal's office or whoever I need to speak to and kind of just have any question that I need answered. But COVID kind of put in these restrictions where you kind of had to wait for responses or call backs and stuff like that. So I'm kind of looking forward to being back into the school and just kind of having those informal meetings and discussions with with the principal and the staff there and the parents.
I know for Brown, one thing that we have started to do was to look at prior to COVID and what were some of those activities that we were doing to see if it would actually be okay to implement those activities again. So right now, that's one thing that we're really looking at, and to see which activities we started during COVID, which we should continue with.
And I think too, also looking at what the social emotional needs of our students may be, as well as teachers and parents. That may mean that we may explore community partners or additional programs that we might be able to offer to our schools as another avenue of support for when students return. Students will be coming back into a structured learning environment. They may have anxiety. They'll just be getting reacclimated to a regular school day, a very disciplined, structured school day. So I think part of that too is us remaining open having conversations, being mindful, asking questions, probing, and just looking to see if there are other ways in terms of bringing in additional partners or supports that can be available to students on site that may be experiencing, as I said, some anxiety or some other behavior that they may demonstrate in the school building that is indicative of how they're feeling about being back in the building.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, thank you. I do want to acknowledge there was a question in the chat from Stefan about the comfort level of parents with their kids returning to school. And thankfully, the team of panelists answered that question already, I guess, while he was typing the question. Thank you all. I do want to acknowledge especially Christine and Monica, who have on our 20th anniversary t-shirts and button-down shirts. And I do want to say that this is actually Edgewood Brooklyn Family Support Collaborative's 25th anniversary this year. So hopefully we'll be getting some new apparel to commemorate our anniversary. But our virtual anniversary celebration will be October 21st. We're doing a breakfast format, so look for more information with that to come forward. As I said at the beginning, this was part 2 of a 3-part summer learning series. The next session will be August 10th, and we'll talk about housing and the impact of COVID on housing in DC, what's going on with the eviction moratorium, finding affordable housing in DC. So I expect a lot of people to tune in for that, because that is a major concern of several thousand of people living in the District of Columbia. Thank you for tuning in. Once again, thank you to our panelists who did a phenomenal job updating us and informing us about the education system in DC public schools. Everyone have a great day. Thank you.